What's happening? What's happening? What's your opinion? You look out at the world, you say, oh my gosh, here's the direction we're going in. Here's what's happening.
Everything.
Everything. Be specific with one thing.
Wounds healed sexually.
There you go.
Total confusion from the male. Total.
Yeah.
They don't even know.
Men, do you agree with that in the audience?
Yes,
Overall.
no.
Yeah.
Overall.
Okay.
It's just really mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Total
Okay.
confusion.
Total confusion. Yeah. I'm gonna call it a loss of identity in individuals and in groups.
Yeah.
And what happens when somebody starts to lose their identity?
Oh.
They try to go back and reclaim what they had. It's safer than going to something new. So
Right.
there is a lot of that happening with the masculine, feminine energy, tremendous amount. And men are literally getting kicked in the
It's true.
butt.
It's true.
In the butt right
But they're
now.
also very confused about all
Oh,
of it.
absolutely. That's what's kicking them in the butt. They're not used to that confusion. They're used to their way of doing things.
Right.
And it's not working anymore. They feel,
No.
what do you say, emasculated?
Yeah.
Men? Yeah. Not Shambra men. Jeez, I'm talking about other men. So emasculated. What's my role? What am I supposed to do?
They're confused.
They're very
totally.
confused. And then what happens?
Oh, they're starting attacking the women now.
They have been for a long time. But
No, this is in a different way. It's like
Yes.
they're so afraid of what to do.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a little hint on that one. Women are very psychic, and they know how to use psychic energies, often tied in with sexual energy, but they know how to use psychic energy. Men really don't. I mean, non-Chambra men really don't. They don't know how to do psychic exploration. They don't know how to psychically feel into what's going on. They've shut down some of their emotional conduits, so now they're totally lost. If they would just regain that inner psychic, which actually picks up on what we're going to talk about later, but it picks up on things. But they cut off their antenna, so to speak, their psychic antenna a while back. They're very lost. Good.
Yeah.
Thank you for your wisdom.
I just see, especially, well, Time just talked about it, the silence breakers, people that are energetically just said, enough.
Yes,
I'm ready to tell my story,
it's coming out.
and it's just coming out.
Yeah.
And it's been buried for so long for a
Yeah.
lot of these people. I mean, like 20 years or more, maybe for
Yeah,
some of these
lifetimes.
people. Lifetimes. Yeah.
Lifetimes.
So,
of abuse.
and so, yeah, they're just saying,
So this is all breaking loose right now, and it's very interesting to watch from Angel's Peak. You know, stand back, get out of the way. It's very interesting to watch the silence breakers. I love that term. These people are coming forward at the kind of almost the sake of embarrassment and people making fun and judgments and everything else, but it's shaking everything up right now. And shake up, the first part of shake up is always kind of fun. It's like we're really shaking things up, but then everything else starts coming out with it. Then it gets ugly, like your
I think
sweaters.
that's why the men get scared. They're like, well, what else is going to happen?
Exactly. So what do you feel about the whole role of the male on the planet? What's happening with that?
Well, they're going through a process where they just have to evolve. I mean, it's either it can stay stuck and not figure it out, or they just have to be like, well, I've got to wake up and
Or
Figure
create
it out.
something like this underworld that,
Yeah, or do that,
or other world, you may want to call it, because it's like, no, we're gonna continue to support the man. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
They're going to stick to their guns, or they're going to just say, maybe I should lighten
Yeah.
up a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so what advice would you give to the typical man on the planet right now? Typical, meaning, they're certainly don't participate in our gatherings, but just the typical man on the street. What advice would you give them?
Just start paying attention, being aware of how, I mean, it goes really back to how you're feeling and seeing what is evolving out there in the world. Not so much maybe just headlines, but the feeling of everything.
Yes.
Of why these women feel this way, and
Right.
and who they see that are men that are changing, whether it be in business or personal life or things like that, and see which way they kind of want to go, because they're going to, like you say, end up one way or the other.
Yeah, and I feel there's a little bit of talk out of both sides of the mouth. A lot of men will say, well, it's time for women to have more of a place in business or religions. Well, it's about time for there to be female priests in the Catholic Church. Otherwise, it's gonna put them under. They say that out of one side of the mouth, but on the other side of the mouth, in their own personal situations, in their own jobs or business world or whatever, they're having such a difficult time with it. A woman, making the same amount of money or being my boss, it's changing slowly, but they're lost. They're really lost. Good. Thank you. Cool. The time of the planet right now, unprecedented change. However, I do have to note that there is also, at least in this era of humanity, post-Atlantis, there's probably more prosperity and abundance, less wars going on. There are more acts of kindness, more people contributing money. There are more people who are now getting access to clean water and somewhat healthy food around the planet. So in a way, it actually is one of the best of times. There's not a lot of big wars right now. There are tribal wars and old wars, but not a lot of big wars. But it's also a time of everything changing so quickly, and people are lost. People are very, very lost. And I'm generalizing for the sake of time here, but when people get lost, it is an emotional / mental thing. They're really not lost, but their old ways of doing things and responding to people and situations is having to change very quickly. They don't know what to do, particularly men don't know what to do, because they haven't allowed that psychic, what I would call almost feminine aspect within their lives. That psychic aspect that the females have, all of you have within you as the feminine energy, can actually project out and start picking up things, feeling into things, looking into other potentials and probabilities. Men don't do that so much. That's why women can multitask, dear Linda, whereas the men are pretty singular, Caldra. So, because the women send out a lot of psychic energy. Now, the men look at it and say, that is so confusing, because you're having a conversation about something, and the next minute you've changed that conversation. How are men supposed to know that you just switched subjects without telling them? And the women are like, well, you've got to be more psychic to pick up on that. But the world is coming to this thing right now where it's very lost, and what people tend to do right now, more than anything, in this lostness, more so in men than in women, because women are used to their psychic and emotional self, and they talk a lot amongst themselves. Men don't know what to do. So what do? These medications, these SSRIs, the anti-anxiety, depression, everything else, because they don't know what to do. They're so lost. And the funny thing about these medications is it makes one more lost. That's what they're for, make you go out of touch with yourself. And that's why you have so many male white men doing these atrocious acts of mass murders, mass terrorism type of thing, because they are so lost. If you track it back, if you were able to find all the police and hospital records on all these mass murders, and I'm talking particularly about in the United States, you would find that they are on or have been recently on these medications, because they're lost. The world is going through such a change so quickly now that it's difficult for so many. The world is going through changes on an emotional level, just like you have experienced in the past. The patterns of evolution are changing faster than ever. You've seen what do you call it, a hockey stick chart. Evolution for the past, let's say, 5,000 years. Then we hit about 50 years ago, and it goes up like that. It's going up so fast that it's going to come around the other side on itself. I mean, just like an airplane doing a loop in the sky. It's going so fast, and I mean that half literal. It's going so fast, everything is going to turn on itself.